What you doing picking in them people's windows?
It is a live edition of For the Record. We welcome you out there and everyone here locally as we are here at Mayfair, at the Mayfair Black Box, the theater. The usual cast, of course, Brian Westbrook. It's For the Record with Brian Westbrook. Crystal Rich, Jeff Mosher, Roxy Romeo, I'm Eitan Shander. And there's a lot that's going on. As you know, with Brian and what's happening in the sports scene, the Philadelphia Eagles don't stop, the Philadelphia 76ers as well. But we'd like to mix in some other things from Cam Newton's proclamation, which I don't believe. We're going to get to that in a couple of minutes. But we'll have some fun as well and make it as interactive as possible for everybody out there. And you can follow us all on our socials that we laid out. So let's open things up with our first
Before we go there, if you're talking about having fun, this outfit that you have on this evening is very fun.
Okay.
You got a nice little T-shirt on. Then you throw on the sports jacket, the blazer, and the baggy slacks.
Yep.
You're like the wacky kid in high school who goes to the prom in the tuxedo T-shirt instead of the tuxedo.
This is young. This is young and this is cool. He has a 76ers shirt, a blazer on top. I like it.
Thank you.
No, the basketball players are wearing hoodies.
Are you guys like talking color coordinate this?
He called me at like 5 a.m. like, what are you wearing today? Let's match twinsies.
I was just getting off the air. I knew she'd be up. I was like, hey, I'm thinking Sixers theme. Here's the thing. I can't win. Because if I came out in a hoodie, like an Eagles hoodie, or if I came out in a Westbrook jersey, I'd still get ripped for that.
You would have been perfect.
I still would have got ripped for that. So no matter what, I figured I would just walk the line and meet people halfway and say, I can wear the T-shirt, and then I can also look somewhat professional. Because I know you're going to come here, sit next to Roxy and all.
I was really
Crystal.
No, Crystal dressed up today.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get on me.
From work.
I was hoping you were gonna wear what is it? Was it the hoodie that you
Oh,
bought?
the ramen noodles
the
hoodie?
ramen noodle hoodie.
No,
Everybody's been loving that.
I wouldn't make it out of here, out of Mayfair alive wearing that one. All right, so let's start. If we can move away from my gear here for a second. Well, I'm sure you'll come back to it, right?
We probably will.
Let's look at the Philadelphia Eagles. And, we have a crazy offseason, as we know, coming off a Super Bowl 2 years ago and trying to get back there and watching the bad guys up in New England win another one. And there's so much with Carson Wentz, and there's really so much with the idea of this team coming back and really competing for something. So we thought, just looking at where this team is right now and kind of where we all expect them to be, but also looking at what's happened this offseason, knowing that from a draft to free agency standpoint, there's still some things to happen. But I think we're all really excited, right? I mean, generally speaking, when you look at what's happened so far, this team.
Are we?
I would think so.
Is Brian ever excited?
Well,
that's why I tried to ease him into excitement.
Yeah.
Well, here it is. I'm excited.
slow
I think everyone is excited that Carson's back. I think everyone's excited about his potential to being that guy, to be the franchise guy, to be the Tom Brady for the Eagles. We're all excited about that. But I think there's a whole bunch of question marks. And we talk about the offseason and bringing different guys in. And we talk about how to make this team better. But the more and more that I see that this offseason brings, to me, it just brings more and more questions. You have to wonder, you bring back guys like Vinnie Curry. You bring back guys like Deshaun Jackson. You bring in guys like Malik Jackson. And to me, I'm wondering, where is this team heading? Are we building the team for the future? Or are we trying to build a team that's going to make a run for the next year or so? Because at some point, they're going to have to pay the piper. At some point, they're going to have to pay.
That's Carson Wentz.
I hand him a check that's going to say, we're going to pay you $30 million a year. At some point, you have to do that. The teams that pay their quarterbacks, Drew Brees went through it in New Orleans for a long stretch. Flacco went through it in Baltimore. Yeah. I mean, there are countless quarterbacks. Really, the only reason that Tom Brady hasn't gone through it is because they don't pay him $20 million a year. They pay him 12, and then they give him cash underneath the table somehow, some other way. And
can't Carson marry a supermodel?
Well, yeah, if he marries a supermodel, then
he's already married.
Well, okay,
maybe
what?
she needs to become a supermodel.
That's all I'm saying. I wasn't saying get divorced. I'm saying maybe she's got the wrong platform or the wrong people looking at her.
You already got in trouble with the whole women weekend legs thing from our first podcast, so I don't know if we want to go down that road.
Fair enough.
I think free agency is like Christmas. It's new toys and you get to open them up and everybody gets excited every single year. No one ever says, man, all these guys are bums, because teams don't go out and look to sign bums. But this is like a weird Christmas because, as you mentioned, some guys who were already on the team before, like Deshaun or Vinny. It's almost like getting the present, and then you're like, Mom, Dad, don't you remember you got me that 3 years ago? So, and now it's a little bit more outdated. But I think you're right, Brian. I think the moves that they made filled holes that they had on the team. Every single team does that. Almost every team does that. So to look at it as like, hey, the Eagles made the moves, they're good to go, and act like other teams didn't make the same exact moves to shore up their holes, except for the Giants, who just wanted to create more, which is a totally
they made a
different
mess of it.
subject. So, but what the reality is, the team isn't as deep as it once was on the defensive line, on the offensive line, certainly at linebacker, and quarterback. Carson Wentz goes down, Nate Sudfeld steps in, and you have no idea, and I'm pretty sure we
Can
can all
we get some
bet money.
optimism, please?
No,
I feel like
Is that where I come in?
Yes,
I think that's
that's
where
what
I
I'm
come in.
saying.
First of all, did you just say that Deshaun Jackson was outdated? First of all, I know he's older. We know that. But he is a role player. He gives Carson Wentz a deep threat. He opens up a whole new vicinity and area and dreams for Carson Wentz to do things that he probably couldn't do before.
Right.
Now, free agency, it's only been, like 2 weeks and some change? This is the thing. Everyone wants everything right now. And I think that's our problem. Like, Howie said what was important to him, the O-line, the D-line, signing Ronald Darby, which he did, and skill positions, and everyone's talking about running backs. When he said skill positions, he was talking about all of them. But if you remember, when we signed Jay Ajayi, when we signed LeGarrette Blount, when we signed Corey Clement, it was after the 2017 draft. So everyone is like going crazy. Like, we don't have our running back right now. Woosah. Chill out. It's coming. There's no way we go into next season with that position in particular, looking at how it looks now. They made some smart moves. They got younger at certain positions. Michael Bennett, no longer with us. Patriot got a little bit younger with Malik Jackson, some optimism, I'm sorry. He could be a little bit on the decline side with his last season from Jacksonville.
As long as he's out there, like unlike Tim Jernigan, who was not out there, I think you're okay.
I'm not sure they did get that much younger.
I don't think they got younger.
They got in certain areas. They let go of someone who's 33, and then
Who's that? Michael Bennett?
Yeah, and then
production, 9 sacks.
I'm not saying I like that part in general, but you're talking about the future and how much longer is this going to go. Right. He could go down.
Here's my thought on the future. The future is almost solely dependent on young players and getting guys in the drafts. And I'm looking at the roster and I'm thinking, who have they got recently in the draft? Let's say after Carson was drafted, that now is a contributor on this football team.
Now,
well,
as far as the draft,
yeah.
Right. I mean, do you expect Derek Barnett to come and play?
I want Derek Barnett to be healthy. He wasn't healthy all last season. We don't know when he comes back at 265, will he be ready to play? So that's a question mark.
When he was healthy, you give him that benefit that you expect him to come back and play well.
I give a lot of guys the benefit. I think when Carson was healthy, he was an MVP candidate.
Okay.
But he wasn't healthy last year. He wasn't healthy at the end of that season. So, I mean, if I was healthy my entire career, I'll be a Hall of Famer.
I thought you were.
I wasn't. So, I mean, but I'm saying if we play that if game, then you can do that across the board. The biggest thing for this team, and I still think the question has to be out there, is can they draft well consistently? The good teams draft well. Because, again, they're going to pay Carson, and they won't be able to afford some of these high-priced free agents in the next year or two after they pay them.
Right.
And so at that point, the jig is up. And the question has to be, can Joe Douglas, Howie Roseman, and his staff make this thing work over the next couple of years, or can you win next year? That's the question.
Yeah, and by the way, I guess what I was trying to say is I'm not pessimistic because I think the Eagles are going to be, and obviously a lot of it has to do with Carson Wentz. Comes back, plays at MVP level, it's the great neutralizer, right? I mean, the Packers, when Aaron Rodgers was playing well, they would let guys go all the time. They were old to positions, and they were constantly in either the championship game, the Super Bowl, or contention, right? I think the Eagles will be fine. What I'm specifically saying is I think there's a natural inclination to think when a team goes out, their team, the team that you root for, goes out and gets players that are good. Deshaun, I support that move. It's like, we're back. Everything's great. This team is not nearly as deep as it, and it's not even their fault. Eventually, you lose players, and then you have to kind of replenish with what's out there.
Well,
and what's out there is not always good.
And to your point, I think what happened this offseason, and maybe this is where I got caught up in it, is I think that there's a sense of nostalgia combined with excitement. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the big picture of Carson Wentz coming back, And I just know, like, throughout the city, it wasn't just a football conversation about Deshaun Jackson coming back. It was like everything that came with Deshaun, the culture that's associated with it, all the postings and everything, and him going out, and all the people that are not just athletes in this city that connect with Deshaun. It was a big story. So I think that's what kind of fed into people's optimism, was that, like, hey, they won a Super Bowl with Torrey Smith. You're telling me they can't win one now with Deshaun? Doesn't mean they will. Doesn't mean Deshaun is who he was 4 or 5 years ago, or even Carson Wentz was before he got hurt. But I think that's where it became more than just a football story.
Why wouldn't someone, obviously we're going to do it more than maybe the diehard who's ever at a game, right? Why wouldn't someone think, you're right, we just upgraded big time from Super Bowl wide receiver Torrey Smith to Deshaun Jackson, way better, but not use the same mentality to think, well, we just lost Nick Foles, who won the Super Bowl, and we're replacing him as a backup with Nate Sudfeld, who's thrown 50 passes in the NFL. Knowing that Carson Wentz has an injury history, and knowing that he's probably the guy that's going to step in, I would have to think you'd have to be just as concerned or nervous about that as you are happy about Deshaun Jackson coming in. And you're saying, no, because I agree with you. People don't think that way. They just think, we got new toys.
Right. No, because also you have to think about the price tag that would have came with that. I think
I'm not
everyone
blaming
in this
them.
room,
I know you couldn't keep Nick Foles.
Right.
I'm just saying the reality is they are not as reliable and deep as they were 2 years ago. And they may never be again.
Now, I want to get into a question for B. West before these two get into
Right.
an extreme argument. Now, you might be a little bit biased
Wouldn't be our first.
because you are or were a running back. Now, in the draft upcoming, Howie, he said he's really dedicated to O-line, D-line, and developing that. Would you want them to pick a back? What do you think their first pick should be?
Yeah,
He wants to come back and play.
Yeah, this old knee can hold that one more. I think that I come from the old school, the old thought process where you draft an offensive lineman, defensive line, you secure the trenches before you do anything else, right? And so you secure the big guys up front, and not that you can just have any running back run through some of those holes, but you need a guy with some skill. But the first round, I think you go O-line, D-line. Me particularly, I would go offensive line. I'm an offensive guy. I want to make sure that our quarterback is protected. We're not sure what we're going to get from Jason Peters. We're not sure how long we can hold on to Jason Kelsey, who had a great year last year. How can we help him? Brandon Brooks coming off an Achilles. These are important people to the success of Deshaun Jackson, who you just paid, to your quarterback, who you just paid.
Right.
They're important to your running back, whoever you're going to pick. And so you want to secure that offensive line first. I think in the second round you find a way to get a running back.
Second round, so it's still pretty early. That's what everyone's crying about. You see all the memes.
Well, here's the thing that you want to do. You want to support your quarterback. That's why you get Deshaun. You want to support him. That's why you have Ertz and Goddard and Alshon on the outside. But in order to really support him, you look at some of the best teams, the Final Four teams, they had run games. They had offensive lines that dominated so they could run the football. We have to get back to that. I think we need a running back to do it.
Listen, that's fair. You don't go full on running back bias.
No.
And say running back, trade up to the number 3 pick. And all right, so you mentioned Carson Wentz and the pressure and everything that comes surrounding him coming back. But he's not, it used to be because Joel Embiid was hurt. Remember, at that time in which Carson was coming up, Joel was still dealing with the injury issues. And now with the addition of Bryce Harper, it's like Carson Wentz went from being the dog, like in the family, to now having 2 kids and just being neglected. Where you have the jealous dog trying to get in there and on the couch and nuzzle her way in on the couch.
That sounds like my life right now. that's exactly what my life is.
You've got children, you've got animals, like
Yeah.
you've got a full house.
I got a whole full house.
In some cases, the children and the animals aren't necessarily discernible.
Listen,
like which one's which.
I don't have children, so I'll leave that up to you three.
I was talking for Brian.
Right. But look at now the 3 biggest names we have in this city, right? And Ben Simmons is in there as well. But for the purposes of what we'll do and just have some fun with this, we've got Carson Wentz, we've got Joel Embiid, we've got Bryce Harper. Take one of them out. All right? Now, you don't need to. And we'll have a little fun with this, understanding that it's a
hypothetically speaking, we got to get rid of someone.
Of course. Got to get rid of somebody.
Why?
Ladies
You just
first?
talking about
Yes.
optimism, and now
Ladies
you
first.
ask
No,
like
no,
a
no.
miserable
Because
question.
here's the thing. I tried to start with some optimism, knowing we would come into this segment, and you guys just went full on, man. The Eagles.
So this is when the audience either hates you or loves you. So
Right.
you're asking
Right.
us to get rid of one
Yes.
between
Of
Carson
the people that we
Wentz.
love in this city.
Right, everyone that we love. Carson Wentz, Joel Embiid, and Bryce Harper.
That's right. That's one of those three.
We
Does
want- we
everyone
wanna-
have their answer?
Well, we want to hear what Roxy has to say because I know she feels strongly about
Listen.
at least one person here.
I would get rid of Carson Wentz.
Oh,
Get rid of Carson.
Yeah.
I knew she
Why?
was
No,
going to say
why?
that.
Why?
She's a Nick Foles truther.
She loves Nick Foles.
I do.
but
I do.
you brought up Foles. He opened the door.
I did bring it
Yeah.
up. Okay.
I do. He wasn't there to help win the Super Bowl. He wasn't there to get them to the playoffs. I feel like he's hurt all the time.
That's the cops coming for you.
Joel Embiid is like the superstar of the team. I don't know much about Bryce Harper, but I know that they paid a whole lot of money for him. So the amount of money that they put out for him, he's got to be worth something. So
you're
I'm
getting rid of
sorry,
Carson.
Carson Wentz, he's gone.
Real quick, would it change your opinion? Because they're about to pay Carson. They're about to give him the bag, like the full bag. Does it
No,
change your
because it
opinion?
doesn't change his past. He still gets hurt all the time. He still wasn't there to help them win the Super Bowl. So no, it doesn't change.
You want Nick back? Just say it.
I do.
You want Nick
Can you
Foles back.
imagine if Nick was actually still with the Eagles? Roxy would be putting the for sale sign on the Carson's lawn, like, get out!
All
All
right,
right,
Crystal.
I'm bracing because I feel like everyone's going to hate me. I'm getting rid of Bryce Harper.
What?
I'm sorry.
He hasn't even played
I'm
a regular
sorry.
season game
All right,
yet.
just hear me out.
The
Just hear me
shock
out.
would have been if you said Embiid, personally.
talking
Just
about?
hear me out. Embiid?
Well, that's what I'm saying because of your connection
no,
with the
I wouldn't-
Sixers,
I
because
wouldn't-
you
I
Sixers
wouldn't
out.
dare.
That's what I mean. Like that's where I
Never
would be
think Crystal
I
shocked.
would-
wouldn't.
that
Do you see
ever.
how offended I just got?
That's what I'm saying. That would
You
be
said
the
the
total
shock would
shock.
be if you said that.
Yeah.
You
heck
already,
no.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. Trust
Yeah.
me.
No. Okay. So how can you get rid of your best player, which is Joel Embiid? The double doubles that he puts up, the effort on defense that he puts up, everything that Joel Embiid does on that team is irreplaceable this year. I mean, I will go as far as say he's the best center in the league right now. There's no way I'm getting rid of Joel Embiid. Carson Wentz, that's like getting rid of the steering wheel in your car. Like you're going to crash.
What if your car went to
I don't
your
know.
destination
What-
already without that steering
What
wheel?
happens? What happens?
What if Nick
happens
Foles
if we
was your
get rid of?
co-pilot?
First, I love Nick Foles, I really do. But what happens if he still left, and we were stuck having to get a quarterback in the draft to develop Nate Sudfeld on our roster? What would happen? We would not be a playoff contention team. We would not be in contention for a playoff this year.
But
And
it
that's-
sounds to me like you're keeping him just because he's there. Because
No.
he's the only option.
No. Before he got hurt, I mean, he won, what was it, 11 straight? 11
He won
games?
a lot of games,
11
yeah.
and 2 that he went, or 11 and 3? He has the ability to be great. And that's why the Eagles want to sign him to a longer term contract, because they know this. If I have to get rid of anyone, and I'm not saying that I don't like him, because I'm so happy we got Bryce Harper.
You just
All
want him
I'm
out.
saying is $330 million, we could get a couple of different pieces to play a couple of different roles for the Phils. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what the right answer is, but you're making a lot of people not happy. Just judging by the facial expressions here.
I'm not getting rid of JoJo. I'm not getting rid of Carson.
Okay, so just to recap,
Story over.
Roxy wants Carson out. Crystal
I reluctantly
wants Harper out. No, there's no reluctance.
She wants the
There's no
guy
reluctance.
out that everyone was clamoring for all season, waiting for him to commit.
Right.
2-3 months down the road, we're waiting, and you're getting rid of the guy. He
And
hasn't
then I got the ankle contusion.
he hasn't
as
even
soon
filled,
as-
he hasn't cast his check yet. And you're trying to
And
get
then
rid
got
of him.
that ankle contusion real early.
yeah,
All
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying is that I'm not getting rid of the very best player.
Wait,
which
did
is-
you just go injury on Harper with a guy in Joel Embiid and Carson Wentz in the same conversation?
I would call it load management more so than
Okay.
severe injury. Not that Bryce was anything near severe, but I'm not getting rid of the best player on the Sixers. I'm not getting rid of the head on the Eagles. I'm getting rid of Bryce Harper. Would this offseason
Who's the
be
best player on the Phillies?
It would be, but we didn't already have him. It would have been a failure if we didn't sign him or someone extremely notable or get Machado, but he wasn't here last year. I'm just saying, if I you guys are making me think.
No, you're fine. They're
I have-
trying to bully
This
your
poor girl
answer.
is
I
like,
don't
"No,
like your
He
answer.
wasn't
I
here
have-
last year and they
if-
were bad.
Now, if one of these guys pick Bryce Harper,
It's on.
It's on.
Right. Okay, let's go, Jeff.
I thought Brian wanted to go.
No, we're saving Brian for last. It's going to be you,
Bryce.
then me,
He's
then
gonna pick
Brian.
Bryce.
I'm saving up my ammo because it's going to.
Oh man,
picking Bryce.
I guess I would have to pick Bryce. I mean,
What?
I hate this game. It's ridiculous. But
This question
all right,
is so obvious.
Just do it from a logic standpoint. Joel Embiid is a top 3 player in the NBA. Do we top 5?
Top 5.
Okay. Carson Wentz, I don't know that he's a top 3 quarterback, but as Crystal was mentioning, and we all know, the importance of quarterback on an NFL team is it's hard to replace. So
It's so important that a backup
I thought
can
the
win the
Phillies
Super Bowl.
made really good moves before they got Bryce Harper, and the NL East is so bad with the Mets and their injured pitching staff, and the Braves aren't that good, that you could theoretically say the Phillies could win the NL East without Bryce. And I'm saying I love the fact that Bryce is here, but
I don't like
as
that
far
y'all
as being
bullying us.
replaceable,
You asked the
Bryce.
question. We're just answering.
So the answer is Bryce.
Okay. Bryce Harper.
Go ahead.
Who wants to fight me now?
I think the obvious thing that you guys are missing is the best position to be in all of sports. And I think I know where you're going, but we're not on the same page on that. But the best place to be, no, I meant it as a positive. Like, I'm not going to steal your thunder on that. The best place to be in professional sports is to have a legit talent at the quarterback position that you're not paying. See ya. I can draft a quarterback and spend a ton of money and build around the next guy. Here's why I keep Bryce Harper. And I'm surprised none of y'all brought this up. Bryce Harper brought baseball back. Baseball was dead. You and I were doing shows where we used to work, and I was adamantly saying, no, we can't bring that team up because we're going to lose everybody. There was a time in which people, it became, and Philadelphia is never apathetic about anything. And for 3 years, Philadelphia became apathetic about the game of baseball, something I never thought I would see. And Bryce Harper, whether or not you love it or not, brought that back. And I think that sentimental value alone, that we now feel like we're back in 08, 09, sign me up for that.
Okay.
What did he do?
No,
Like,
just
how
he
did
made
bring him back?
baseball exciting again.
His curls.
I cannot. I can't disagree with you there. He made it very exciting. People are looking at the game like, how can we change it? Well, just bringing Bryce in made it exciting. That's why I don't like the initial question in general. But first of all,
You signed off on the question in prep,
who
Crystal.
is don't tell people our secrets. Who is number 1 in the city? Which team?
Eagles.
Hello. Why would you get rid of your head?
Because I can replace him.
With a rookie?
Yeah.
We going to the playoffs with a rookie?
Second year rookie, yeah. Russell Wilson, I can go down the list. Carson Wentz,
You think that
he
you
was an
draft,
MVP in his second year.
You think you're just going to draft a Russell Wilson and get that fortunate?
I got Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas. They could draft anybody.
See, this is the reason why they let me go last. Let these guys
Come on,
go.
Grandpa, tell us how the big
things-
man ain't part of the
They
game
get, a
anymore.
they get a little confusing. Now, here's the deal.
NBA don't need a center anymore.
Yeah, you know where it's going.
Oh,
Here's the deal.
listen,
Now-
clear as day.
Roxy, I can understand where you come from because, listen, the Eagles won a Super Bowl without Carson in the lineup. So I can understand that. I think they would be a different football team throughout their entire season, that year in particular, if Carson wasn't there. So, I mean, it's a little confusing there. I can understand why you're thinking Bryce, even though you're wrong about that. And your point was right. Bryce brought the attention, the love for baseball back. And that's important in the city where almost all sports, obviously the Eagles are probably ahead of everyone else, but it's important to have all sports involved. Here's my thing, and I've argued this point to so many people. I love Joel Embiid. I think he's a very good player.
Get rid of Joel?
I think Joel is a very good player. Now,
We're going to headline this
now,
old man screams
I
out.
want to tell you guys, he is a top 5 player in the league. He's going to get you 30 and 12 every single night. And that's pretty cool during the regular season.
Pretty cool.
Here's the deal. In the NBA right now, you don't need a center to win. You need guys that can shoot, guards, the point guard, shooting guard, small forward, and a stretch forward position. And you need guys that can run up and down the floor. Here's the thing that you guys forgot about what happened last year in the playoffs when the Celtics. Joel Embiid couldn't get up and down the floor no more. The Celtics were running up and down the floor. Team wasn't good enough to go up and down the floor. To me, I'm going to tell you again, I think that's going to happen again in the playoffs this year. He will dominate when he's healthy and he's fresh at the beginning of the series. When you get to game 5, 6, and 7, I think he'll struggle. I think that when you have the way that they made the team is completely wrong, in my opinion. Ben Simmons being a limited point guard is going to hurt them in the long run. He's limited. He can't shoot.
We gave you a little crack
yeah,
of the door. You
in
just
a
kicked
league,
that sucker
in a
open.
league where you need guys to shoot. Look at all the teams that are winning. You talk about Houston. Who's their big man? Thank you.
Hey, Clint Capella is a good big man.
He's an active big
on
man.
a different team,
well,
he'd
here's
be
the
a
thing.
really good big
Does
man.
Capella get 20 shots a game?
That's
Doesn't
what
need
I
to.
just said, on a different
Well,
team.
that's my point. That's the difference between what the Sixers are doing. The Golden State Warriors.
Don't you dare slander Boogie.
He doesn't get 20 shots.
He's still coming back from that
He
injury.
doesn't. None of the good teams have the big man. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm just saying Joel Embiid is an absolute talent, one of the best players in the league. If they want to win a championship, they have to find a different way to do
Okay,
it.
we're going to have to move on, but I can't because Crystal is going to hate us.
Yeah.
Look at her.
Look at her.
Look at her. Like
She's frustrated.
I'm offended.
Just let
She
it
doesn't
out.
like the truth.
No,
That's
she
why.
has
in
it
here.
like bottled up right now.
Yeah.
So just let him have it, and then we'll go to Meek.
I respect you, Brian.
I'm out of here.
That's a good way to start.
But
But I do not respect that take. If we get rid of Joel Embiid, we replace him with some, go small ball, whatever you want to do. Ben Simmons is still going. Ben Simmons was not on that list, so he's still going to be on that team. Whether he can shoot or not, he is still capable of getting you a triple-double on any given night. You surrounded him with shooters.
Triple doubles are meaningless stats, Crystal.
hold
Everybody
on.
knows that.
Sometimes I will give you that. Sometimes on occasions they are, especially when he has a high turnover rate. But what Elton Brand did this year is he surrounded Ben Simmons with shooters. JJ might be struggling. Tobias Harris might go through a little something from behind the arc. But it takes more pressure off of Ben from taking a shot. Now, what you want to do is not just get rid of our best player, not just on offense, but on defense. I mean,
Right.
we want him in the paint to play bully ball, to defend the rim. And if you take Joel Embiid away and go small ball, who are you going to put in there? You're going to put a Mike Scott in there, who is not a true five, who cannot guard some of the bigger players. Brett Brown likes to switch on defense. Joel Embiid, if you take him away, you are taking the Sixers' total playoff chances away. 100 million, jillion, gazillion %.
are you going to slide
let
something?
me
not a
ask
real
her a
number.
quick question.
Because you know where this is going. You're going to ask her a quick question. She's going to have a quick response.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be, hold on. Let me
'Cause
ask
I
her a
didn't- I
question.
don't
not
like
gonna
her
have a quick
response.
response.
I know you don't, and she's not going to like your question.
Good.
I've been around you long enough to know how this thing's going to go.
All right, can I
Crystal-
keep it
Crystal
under like
tries
10
to jab.
seconds?
If I don't come
She's been
down,
jabbing me.
You do not know how to keep anything under 10 seconds.
if I don't come down right now and chop it, we're going to be here
go.
talking about
Let's
this
do
for
it.
another
Let's
2
do it.
hours.
Take the hatchet.
So let's just agree that Crystal's wrong.
No. See, you can't do that.
Then we
You know
just-
she's not going to let that
Let's
go.
just agree.
You're the only one who picked Joel Embiid.
Seriously.
Smart one.
Seriously. All right. As we transition into something, and this serious and light at the same time, because I think that whenever you bring up Meek Mill in our city, there's always a connection that we have personally, right, with Meek and what he went through, and now it being a big story, and he himself being a big story. But Rox, there was something that happened with Meek that kind of caught our eye and made us kind of think if it was worth what really went through.
So Meek, as everyone knows, he was born and raised in Philly. He is Philly. And in terms of hip hop, present day, he's the only reason that Philly is even on the map. And then, of course, his legal troubles were broadcasted everywhere.
You don't like Lil Uzi?
I like Uzi.
He doesn't even rap anymore. He quit.
Oh, he quit.
But Uzi broke in Atlanta. He didn't break in Philly.
Oh, I thought he
Will
said-
Smith has a bone to pick with you.
Who?
She said
Will
present.
Smith.
She said
I said present day.
Oh, all
I
right.
said present
I didn't
day.
know he died. I'm sorry.
So that's why Philly's on the map because of Meek. He got out of jail, and now he's become the face of prison reform. And he has been everywhere from CNN. He's done so many speeches wherever. And Jay-Z is now coming out with a documentary about his life and about, his legal struggles. And because of everything he's been through, he got a day in Houston.
The Meek Mill's day.
Yeah, there's a day in Houston. He got that before Philly. So last weekend or 2 weekends ago, he had 2 shows, and they decided to give him a weekend. So now it is called the Meekend. He got the key to the state of Connecticut, and now he also has a day in Atlanta, and it's like the highest honor. So it's a lot of people are very torn because some people feel like Meek does not deserve all of the accolades that he's getting now. They don't think he did enough to garner it. And then some people feel like he's done a lot. In Philly, I mean, I always liked Meek, and I've only been here a year, so I started learning a lot more about Meek when I moved to Philly, and he does a lot for the community. A lot more than I think people know, because there's a lot of things that are not televised. There's a lot of things that are not reported. He does a turkey drive every single year. Even when he was in prison, they did the turkey drive because he wanted them to. He's giving backpacks away to kids. He goes out and speaks to kids. And he doesn't do it just in Philly. He does it in other cities too. So I think that he does do a lot for the community that people don't know. But some people still think it's not enough, especially because he's still dealing with this legal trouble. He's still got to go back to court and deal with the judge. Is he going to get locked back up again? Is all of this going to go away? Like, we just don't know.
So let me ask you.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask a quick question just
Sure.
to kind of get some more detail of it. How much, and when he's getting the Meek end and when he's getting the key to Connecticut, how much of the honoring and the speeches and everything addressing Meek references what he's doing in the community as opposed to what he went through? Because if they're only focusing on what he went through and not what he's doing for the community, then I could understand people being like, yo, what's going on here?
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't see any of the
Okay.
speeches. I didn't watch
I
any of
don't
the
know
press
either. That's why I
conferences.
asked.
But I would bet that they probably focus more on him being the face of prison reform than anything else.
But they do mention the philanthropic work that he does. They said he gave 60,000 bottles of water to Flint, Michigan, that he's given thousands of backpacks out in this city, that he's done a lot of things. And then on top of that, he also wants to work on prison reform with Jay-Z, Robert Kraft, Michael Rubin, and others.
I don't know if he necessarily deserves the accolades in all of the cities that he's gotten them in, but I think he deserves it in Philly. I personally think he does.
To see a documentary done on Meek Mill and his importance to Connecticut.
How many times has he
Who
been
gets the key to Connecticut?
Right.
Meek Mill
For
does.
what? Why though? Why Connecticut?
the
This is
trailers
I
now,
can get by
Jay-Z
Houston,
working
it's a
on
big
it.
city.
Like,
but
what's the first thing you think of when you think of Connecticut?
Well, I used to live in
Me
Connecticut.
too. My mom.
ESPN is
yes.
the only thing you think of.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you think of ESPN.
Or like super rich Greenwich or super bankrupt Hartford.
Right.
Yeah,
There's
but-
like no middle ground in Connecticut.
It's true.
There's some, I've explored a little bit, and there's some really poor areas that I was kind of surprised to
Yeah,
find.
yes.
I had no idea.
No, it's like very wealthy or
There's
very
no
poor.
middle
There's
ground.
not much of a middle ground there.
Hartford, Bridgeport, those cities are bankrupt.
But again, where does Meek
How
Mill
does that
tie
come
into
in?
Connecticut?
Well, I
That's
think
probably
that
Is that a
one of the
publicity
reforms.
when you
stunt?
connect yourself to Robert Kraft and billionaires like Michael Rubin, I think that you get some of those accolades. Here's the thing about me.
It's because Connecticut is it's a billionaire hideout.
yeah, but it's also the complete like middle ground between New York City and Boston.
Right.
Connecticut is like, no offense to Jersey, but I'm saying Jersey
No,
can
I
be
get
seen
you. I'm
as
just
like,
wondering, did Connecticut kind of observe that and say, hey, we got an opportunity
No, but
here?
Connecticut might be, I know you can jump in, Brian. Connecticut might be like, the northern part of it might be like a Robert Kraft, New England type
Sure.
thing, and his association with Kraft then means that somebody in Hartford gives him the key.
Yeah. My first reaction, not knowing a lot of things that Meek did, was like, well, what did he do to deserve these things? Probably like a lot of people. I went back and looked at some of the things he's done, and you're right, he does an awful lot of things for the community. He does an awful lot of things. I think the prison reform probably for the minority community is huge, really for everyone. I mean, when he tells the story that he's been on probation since he was 18 years old and he's 31 years old, the system needs to be changed, and the system has to be changed on a lot of different levels, just not the prison reform. A lot of different things need to be changed about the system. So I appreciate him going to fight for those things. Here's the thing in how I raise my children. I raise my children to look up to people that do the right thing the first time. And I'm not saying that everybody doesn't make mistakes, but I'm teaching my kids, listen, I want you to have role models. I want you to follow what me and your mom are doing the right thing. We want you guys to do the right things all the doggone time. There's no black and white between that. I mean, there's no gray area. There's only black and white, right and wrong. We want you to do the right thing. And I'm not saying that Meek isn't a role model, because there's a lot of people in the system, in the jail system. There's a lot of young black people, a lot of young brown people, a lot of young white people that look up to Meek. So he is absolutely a role model. I just want to make sure that when we talk about role models, I mean, there's a lot of people that are giving out book bags in the city. There's a lot of people that are honoring our youth and trying to help them stay out of jail before they even get there. I would wish that all of those people get the same type of publicity as Meek. And obviously he's a rapper and he's hot right now, and I understand that. And I'm not trying to take away from him and his celebrity, because I believe that he deserves some of this. He came through a situation where he was locked up and got out, and with the help of Michael Rubin and Robert Kraft. And I went to a couple of the reform talks and things like that, and I heard everything that they said. And really, when you talk about it, the system is against young black boys. That's just the way it is. And there should be some reform, and I appreciate what Meek has done. I just want to make sure that we congratulate and celebrate so many of the other people that are doing things daily that hasn't gone through that same type of hardship.
I think that we start to venture into the deeper issues that we have, which is what is put on our TV and what's put on our radios and what's put in front of us on our social feed, what goes viral as opposed to what doesn't. And sometimes it's the worst of humanity that gets shown up there. Other times it's stuff that's just it's not boring. And I think that's what Meek Mill is. Meek Mill is the opposite of boring. Meek Mill has a story. Meek Mill does have something tangible you can connect to, which is impacting the community. But he also has this flash and sizzle surrounding him. And it's unfortunate, because I agree with everything you just laid out. And I think at times, regardless of your color or your appearance or your gender, whatever it may be, if you are doing the right thing from the jump, it can be, and this is not me saying it, I think this is our society, it can be perceived as boring, therefore not newsworthy.
Or highlighted.
I do agree with you, Brian, in that you want your kids to do the right thing the first time around, and there's a lot of people in the city who have been helping people in the city for a long time, and they too should be honored, and maybe they do, maybe we just don't hear about it. But what I specifically love about Meek Mill is that, if I can use a basketball term, he gives us the second chance offense. What happens if you don't do the right thing the first time around? He's fighting for those people who may have made some mistakes and then grown up, because when he made his mistakes, he was very young. He was a teenager. Kids do stupid things, especially if you are not raised in a two-parent household, or you don't have a lot of
Structure,
direction,
education, money,
if you don't have money, if you don't have resources, if you don't have just adults who care about you. So that's what I love about the Meek Mill story, is that he got in this trouble a long time ago. He went to jail for 5 months. He was in jail during the Super Bowl, while they're warming up and getting hyped to his music. Like, that's something that I'm sure he would have loved to be a part of. But he, from experience, knows what it's like to go down the wrong path. And I think that's why he's so keen on giving back to kids in school and backpacks to promote do the right thing the first time, because he's been there. So I think, and for people who didn't do things right the very first time, I think he kind of gives them hope.
Maryland, by the way, I just have to ask.
I do not, but I think Crystal's point is absolutely right. He's giving. There are kids that are going to have no troubles at all, and those kids need role models, and they're probably not going to choose a role model that had a lot of trouble. They're probably going to choose a guy that hadn't had a lot of trouble. But there are also kids or people that have had troubles, and I think Meek can certainly be a great role model for everybody. And I'm not trying to take away what he's done. I think it's pretty cool. I just wish that everybody could be celebrated in the same type of way.
I think there's something to that.
I wish that was the case as well, but reality is it's never going to be like that. It just really isn't. But I think the thing with Meek too is, he's from the hood. Yeah. He's from the inner city, and at the end of the day, kids that are born in the hood, kids that are born in the inner city, they already are born, disadvantaged, exactly. You know what I mean? They're already born that way. And so he, I think, is a role model for people that are coming from the hood, because it's like he made it out. Yeah. Like, he actually changed his life from a negative to a positive. And, if you grow up, in a big house with a white picket fence and you get in trouble, I think it's still easy to turn your life around. But when you are already in a situation where outside your window, people are getting shot every day, and there's prostitutes and drug use is normal, like, to be able to get out of that has got to be extremely difficult. And so for Meek to be able to do that, regardless of the fact that it's rap or whatever the case is, that's a feat.
Well, and it is, and I don't think that, as we kind of transition into something much lighter, trust me, I don't think that it takes away from Meek's story to bring up, like, these two can be competing themes and theories, which is, hey, somebody is coming from an environment that is designed to keep them down, and they got in trouble and issues, and they were able to come out of it. At the same time, the person who was dealing with the same issues in the same environment, the same exact scenario, not tripping up or coming out of that and not being honored in the same light. I think that's where we can.
And I agree. I
Right.
think that they should.
We've got
Absolutely.
agreement.
Yeah, no, Meek has
We've
done
got
a great
agreement.
job of promoting everything he's been
Yes.
through, and he's trying to change. To me, the change part is the biggest part. He's trying to change the system, and so many people have ignored it, but I think he's done a great job with that.
Okay, I'm just going to say this because Roxy's going to explain this story. I am going to explain this in as few words as I can.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I root for the guy. I don't have anything against the guy. But Cam Newton's a liar.
A liar.
He's a
When
liar.
you say "but," it negates everything that you said.
I know. I meant to lay it out.
There.
That's why I gave you 3. I love the guy, fan of the guy. I gave you 3 so I could set you up for the opposite. I don't believe him.
All right, so me still being in my football 101 class, I even know that Cam Newton is a great player. But he apparently has not been playing to his fullest potential. So he decided to, I don't know if it's an experiment or what he's trying to do, but every single month he has been giving something up in order to become mentally stronger. So the first month he
So
became.
it's like 12 months of Lent?
Basically.
Listen,
but-
I'm a Jew from New York, so I asked.
Basically, but when I
don't
heard
know.
this story, that's what I asked. I
Okay.
was like, is this Lent? So in January, he became vegan. February, he stopped gambling. And now this month, he has decided to give up sex. And he's hoping
Can't wait till
that-
April.
He's hoping that this will make him mentally stronger so that he will play better. And you know what? My thing is, okay, vegan, cool. No gambling, cool. That doesn't affect anybody but Cam Newton.
Right.
But you have a longtime girlfriend that you got kids with. Did you have a conversation with her about this? I mean, is she on board?
see this
Because
selfish-
that is just really selfish.
Oh, you're being selfish.
Listen, we need to have a conversation.
You're being selfish.
Give up alcohol.
That's the first thing you went to is not his career, because he wants to be the best player he can
But
be.
listen, they might
You
have
went
had-
straight to his girlfriend and how she feels about it.
They might have had a conversation and she
How's he
might
gonna
be on
provide for
board.
his kids?
But he cannot just say no sex and not have a conversation. She needs to be on board because that's just selfish.
She's right in the sense that there is a secondary component
For
in this.
1 month?
But here's the thing, real quick, Crystal. There is nothing. And if we have a doctor or anybody in the medical community that can confirm this, please.
I'm a doctor. I'm a
Okay.
doctor.
No, not that type of doctor. Right. There is nothing in the medical community that would say anything remotely close that withholding from sex, abstaining from sex, would do anything healthy for you in building mental health. If anything, it's designed for release in multiple
To
ways.
make you feel better.
It's designed for stress. It's designed for dealing with all the intangibles that we say. Not like a broken arm,
I agree.
but all of the stress. So if you want to get better at your craft,
You need to have more sex.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go last. I
And
think
first
I'm
of
gonna go
all,
last.
well, I think you're onto something, but I'll make this point.
He's on something.
There are boxers that go during their training camp. They go 8 weeks, no sex.
Yeah, I
'Cause
bet you they get knocked out,
They're
too.
trying to sharpen their tools. Mike Tyson went a long time without having sex. Youngest heavyweight
somebody's
champion.
ear off.
Well, that was after he started having sex again. That's my point. But as a player, I would never go a month. This sounds crazy. I would never go a month without sex, right?
Right.
Until you get married. And when you get married, Jeff,
I don't know
you
what
go
you're talking
months without sex. It's just.
Dude, I'm an all-pro football player right now.
Well, as a player, you the last couple of days of the week before Sunday, you don't have sex because you want to have your legs underneath you. You want to be strong. And I think Cam's thought process is, I want to be focused on his craft. He wants to be better at his craft. And so maybe part of giving up sex is for him to get better. It sounds crazy as a retired guy now.
Have you ever heard this before? Like, you played in the NFL for a long time. Did anybody ever come up to you one off season or start the season and be like, hey, B. West, man, you know what? I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster, and I stopped having sex.
I will tell you this. It was one game. I'm running for a touchdown. I get caught from behind. I promise you. That just like anything. I come to the sideline. Buck was like, he was giving me that look like, and I was like, what? He was like, I know what you've been doing, man. Because you would have never got caught if you wasn't, engaging.
At halftime?
Yes. I don't know. I don't know. That's what
Yes.
he said. And it was true, though. And it wasn't right before the game, but it was, 24 hours or so.
Oh, you
First
broke,
time
you
out?
broke the 24-hour rule?
24 hours, yeah. That's a bad, don't do that. But listen, a
Wait,
month
did Big
is a
Red
long-
actually discuss this amongst
No,
you?
Coach
Okay.
wouldn't. He wouldn't say it. But I think that as a player, you're trying to focus. Your main focus is winning. And Cam, for his position, he wants to stay healthy.
Yep.
He wants to be able to be the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Right now, he's not. He wants to get better. So to me, I applaud anybody willing to sacrifice everything to become a better player. Now, I'm thinking that a significant other would say, listen, if it's going to make you a better player, it's going to make you happy, then I'm willing to do that. See, now, Roxy will never, she will make someone happy at some point, but this is a selfish way to think.
No. Listen
Selfish.
to me.
Wait a
Listen
second.
Only
to
thinking
me.
about the girl.
All I said was, I'm just wondering if they had a conversation. If they had a conversation and she agreed with it, cool.
But you
Go
wouldn't- you
have
wouldn't
sex.
agree with- you
But
wouldn't go for that.
No, I would. Listen to me.
You know what?
If
Your
my
boyfriend
man is
better not
making
ever
millions
play-
of dollars and me abstaining for 30 days will make him back at the top of his game, absolutely.
Okay, but what if it won't? Like,
Okay,
what
you
if
know
all
what?
it takes is going to
I'm-
Google and saying it's not going to work? It doesn't work that way.
Or
WebMD told me that abstaining ain't going to help you.
Dr. Ruth insists.
I'm jumping in now, unless you want to go.
No, please.
You good? All right. So I usually agree with Roxy. We're the two women up here. I disagree. I don't always agree with A, but right here I really disagree.
Seems like normal.
This is the thing. You said it's his girlfriend, and that's exactly my point. He is not married. He might be in a long-term relationship. He doesn't owe anyone anything. Before you jump down my throat, he has little kids. He has a long-term partner. But I watched that interview, and in that interview, he said, "I'm transitioning," which made me think that this might, the effect of it may help him be stronger for football, mentally, maybe physically. But it seemed like there was more of a different mental aspect to this, but he didn't want to dive down in that deep in the conversation on a talk show host, which is supposed to be funny. He's not married. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't owe this person sex. Not at all. I'm sorry.
No,
He
this is a
doesn't.
real- this is a grown-up
I'm
conversation.
If you have a
I'm
girlfriend, a long-time
should
girlfriend
leave.
with kids,
It's a
I'm
grown-up
so
conversation.
serious though. You have a long-term. See, this was why this generation is so messed up. First of all, y'all gonna get me on a whole rant.
we're gonna have to do a
Oh,
whole
you
nother
have,
podcast.
you have
Exactly
a
where Chris is
long-term
gonna go.
girlfriend, so I owe her everything. No, that's not right. You don't owe her anything. You might owe her some because you have a child with her. That's a whole different conversation. There's co-parenting that goes into that. They're obviously still in a relationship. However, if he, for himself, has a decision to make, like, hey, I want to be abstinent for 1 month, more power to him. Now, if he was married, on the other hand, I would have a different opinion, because right now you sacrifice your body to whoever you're married to. Sacrificial
Okay, well,
seems like
wouldn't this have an impact? Let's put you in her position, all right? Your
Don't do
long-term.
that.
No, but hold on a second.
Long-term
Long-term
girlfriend,
relationship,
yeah.
right? You, like you would expect him, want to take this to the next level and take it into a marriage. You're now looking at a futures, like a stock,
Honey,
and see.
we got to watch on it. Long-term relationship, that's
Do you
not
know-
crystal
Okay,
rich.
but
Maybe
that's
this is
my
a
point.
test.
Is that wouldn't this impact how you view him and how he would see marriage? You're almost getting a glimpse. You're getting a sneak peek.
The person who I am would respect it. I would respect it. I'm looking at this man who's saying,
you're going to be married soon.
I'm looking at this man. It doesn't matter if y'all like
ain't
it
gonna
or
be
not.
happy,
I'm
though.
telling y'all how I feel about it.
Do you know
If-
what his religious or spiritual beliefs are?
It might not
I
have
don't think it has
anything
anything to do with religion.
It might not have
No,
anything
but
to
I'm
do with
going based on
religion.
what Crystal is saying, because Crystal is spiritual. She's very godly, so she's going based on her beliefs.
No,
but that
I'm
might
not-
not be his beliefs.
No, I'm not going based off of my beliefs. I'm just saying he's not married. If he was married, I would have a totally different opinion, because you should be sacrificial to your partner. I would honestly not really like it if he was married. I could see if you wanted to do like half weeks. I'm like, okay, you can discuss that. A month is a long time to go. He's not married. He doesn't owe this person anything. At what point in our society did long-term relationship equal marriage?
Long
It
time ago,
doesn't.
long time
That's
ago.
where we get
Common
into
law marriage.
That's
But
where we
here-
get into
but-
situationships.
But the thing is,
that's why our
there
generation's
are,
all
there
messed
are
up.
some people that don't believe in marriage, and they want to stay in a long-term relationship. So a lot of people think that marriage messes things up, so they want to stay in a long-term relationship till the end of time. And I'm not saying that's his belief. I don't know what his belief is. It's not my belief, but I'm just saying it could be. And if that's the case, then he will still look at her as something that someone that he is going to be faithful to and be dedicated to.
Look at Eitan's face right now.
Maybe,
yeah.
if you're Cam Newton and your girlfriend, your long-term girlfriend said, you know what, if this is going to make you better to be the person that you want to be, then I'm willing to do it. Maybe that's going to get him over the hump to marry this young lady. Or maybe they're just like, you know what? I just want you to be good. I want you to be one of the best quarterbacks in the game so that when I go to the game wearing your jersey with your children, that we're excited about winning.
One more point.
Please,
One
go
more
ahead.
point. I don't know what his beliefs are. I'm just guessing right now. He has kids with this woman. They're not married together. Now, in the interview, like I said, he said, I'm going through a transition. Mm-hmm. And I just took that and ran with it mentally, thinking that it might not be all physical. It could be something else. Now, everyone knows that sex clouds things. So what if, in his mind, he's thinking... Wait.
Who said that?
Who said that?
Brian's face right now.
I don't think sex clouds. I think it clears things up for a lot of people, Crystal.
No, it clouds things up because you might not even like the person, but you like what you get on the receiving end.
I'm going to agree with Crystal.
I'm just saying, you might not like the person and their character and their morals and their values, but you like what you get on the receiving end. So if he's trying to transition, maybe there's a reason he didn't marry this woman. He has a couple kids by her.
Maybe he just
I don't know. I don't know
the
the woman, and I hope she's I bet she's A1. I'm just saying it could cloud things up. So if he wants to make a decision to get stronger, to get more mentally tough, why are we putting so much blame on him? Like, oh, that's such a crazy thing to do. He's
it doesn't
not
make
married.
sense. It's illogical. And here's another thing. Why are we assuming, I think this is a dangerous assumption. Why are we assuming that she is just on board with everything? Like, why are we automatically assuming that if Cam Newton comes to this woman, she's her own human being, her own person, and says, hey, we're done for 30 days because it's going to make me a better player. Why are we assuming that her immediate response is, okay, honey, whatever you want, and not, what? 30 what? Like 30 minutes?
I don't think anyone's assuming that.
That was all the conversation we were just having for the last 6 minutes. You guys were like, oh, no, she's okay with it. She's okay with it.
I'm not assuming her feelings. She might hate it. What I'm saying is that they're not married. He doesn't technically owe her that. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so there's the thing
she
about...
might hate it.
I need to hear, I think we all do, right? Because I'm sure there are plenty of people in the audience that are married that are shaking their head at the three of us. These two actually are married.
For many reasons.
Now you're on the opposite side of it. Like, you could probably get away with this. I don't know if you could get away with this.
Get away with what?
Like, like Brian...
Having an opinion on this?
No. I'm saying coming over and like when Brian played, hey, I need to abstain from having sex for 30 days.
I've got nothing to hang as like the carrot and say, honey,
like,
here's what's going to happen.
You and me are SOL in that regard.
To be honest, if she's just going to say, oh, another month?
Just tack it on the back end.
Just add it up.
So
I just like, we get to this point, the people should know, we get to the point every podcast, at least every podcast, where it becomes everyone knows equals Crystal says.
Right.
Like Crystal does it, well, everybody knows, and then everybody else on the panel says, what? Wait, what?
What did I say that everyone knows?
I don't know, but I just heard you go,
That's
everyone
sex
knows,
weakens you.
and then everybody here was like,
sex clouds you.
Oh, yes, I did say
But I
that.
think that's the...
And Roxy agreed.
Women are from Venus, men are from Mars. I think that's what that is.
Yeah.
Men look at...
No, but it's also a man thing, too, because a man, they're like the prime example of this. They might think this woman's personality is awful, but she look good. She might think like, oh, yes, she has no morals, but what I get from her is good.
Yes, we are superficial. There's no man in this building that will
let
deny that.
me wrap this up. Wrap this up. Here's the thing.
great phrasing.
Let me wrap it all the way up. No. Who's to say that she may be on board, she may not be on board? I think at the end of the day, Cam wants to be the best quarterback that he can be. He went vegan, which I think is probably a little bit crazier than the no sex part, but that's where he started at. That's cool. I think he wants to be the best quarterback. And to me, if I'm a fan of Cam Newton, if I'm a Panthers fan, I applaud him for that.
Does he win the division?
If I'm a Panthers fan,
Well,
they say, better you than me, boss.
Yeah, you don't care. You just want him to be better. And I think if this is going to help him be better, then let him do it.
What's our next topic?
Well, okay. as we wind down here, and we'll focus a little bit on the Sixers and how we feel they can kind of, what they can do specifically. I know we talked a lot about that with the Joel Embiid
I
thing.
abstained from sex for 30 days before this show right here. and I'm sharp.
You're
I'm light.
performance
I'm light on my feet. I'm quick. I can lateral movement.
You regret
I
every
do
one of
feel
those.
like
He's,
this is a
he's
better
confusing being
podcast,
punished
Brian,
at home
thank you.
with an actual conscious decision. It's okay, I do the same
30
thing.
days.
30 days.
Brother, you couldn't go 10 days.
Yeah, my wife just had a baby, so it's like, yeah.
Oh,
just
well, that's different.
sit
then.
and wait for a long. Just sit over there in the corner.
Okay. With that said, 30 days, my ass. Let's look at the Sixers real quick. All right, we got about 6 or 7 minutes as we kind of wrap this up. And there's a lot of expectation and a lot of hope because of what happened last year, knowing that we bringing up Joel Embiid, can't get up on down the floor, he's wearing that mask. You know, he was hurt. There were circumstances extenuating to last year, but you expect to win, in the 50s again, to be that 3 seed, which they are locked into. And now it's like, okay, we'll do something. You got Tobias Harris. You got Jimmy Butler. Ben Simmons is better. Joel Embiid has gotten exponentially better in 1 year. This is a team that I think everybody in the city should be expecting, and should be expecting them to be one of the 2 remaining teams in the Eastern Conference. And I know that's tough because I'm saying they have to beat one team at least, that's ahead of them in young Milwaukee or now better, significantly better Toronto than last year. But I believe, and I don't think that's outside the realm of ridiculous expectation, that they should be able to do that and be in the Eastern Conference Finals. Crystal, Jeff, Brian.
Crystal, I'm going to let you go before I rip you up.
So
Popcorn,
you already
please.
know that you're going to disagree with me before whatever. Actually, I know I always go first on Sixers, but you have some very strong opinions on the Sixers. So I would rather you go first and
All right,
let me.
I want to
rip
hear you
up.
say they're going to get knocked out in the first round, but not let her do her thing first.
I don't think they're going to get knocked out in the first round. I think that they probably will get to the second round, and we'll see. I think that when you have a team playing a 7-game series, and maybe that first round doesn't go to 7 games, maybe it's only 5 games, right? I think it's tough on a big man like Embiid to continue to carry this basketball team. If let's just say he doesn't score 30, let's say he only scores 20. Can we depend on Ben to score 25? No. JJ Redick athletically can't do it every single night. I think Tobias Harris certainly can do it, but can he be depended on to score 25 every game? Your big man is the guy that's going to score. Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, I think Jimmy Butler is an awesome player. I think he took a step back to play with the Sixers. I think that his game is so much better than what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a shell of him. He sits in the corner for three quarters, and then the fourth quarter he comes to play. To me, that's not the Jimmy Butler that I loved when he was with Chicago and Minnesota. That's not the same guy. I think this team is really good. I still think that there's a problem with chemistry. I think that when you only play, how many games have they all played together? 10?
15?
15 maybe?
If that.
In between.
I think that amount of games playing together will hurt them in the playoffs when it matters the most. We all understand that they want Jimmy to get the ball in the fourth quarter, but what if you're down by 15 by that point? To me, Jimmy should be used to control the game a lot more than he is. This team can be better than they are right now. I think chemistry is going to be the biggest issue.
So it seems like your biggest concerns are Joel Embiid and Jimmy Butler. Now, with Jimmy Butler, it's interesting, right? Because he came here, he was on a team with Tom Thibodeau, who's no longer with the Timberwolves, but he got ran like 40 minutes a game. He played so much, but he also was in situations where he had endless pick and rolls. So he's coming into this new situation with a group of all-stars with only one basketball to play.
A group of all-stars?
A group of great players. They called it the Big
say
Four.
That they play at an all-star level.
Tobias was not an all-star
He
because
played
he
in
was
the
on the
Deep
Western
West.
Conference.
Yeah, he's an all-star in the East.
Right. So they called it a Big Four. I call it a Big Five. There's one basketball to go around. Jimmy Butler said, I know my position. I'm the closer on this team. So you're asking him to adjust on a new team where he's not getting what he's used to, which is an abundance of pick and rolls. When he first got to this team, his assist numbers were very low, but you've gradually seen them rise up. So he's creating for other people on the floor. Now, yeah, the strategy is that he will play more one point late in the game, which has been effective. Now, something that everyone has been talking about was the last 2 games where they played the Hawks and they played Orlando Magic, and they lost. And they were just coming off of a 6-game winning streak. Everyone thought it could have been 8, which it should have been. It should have been. But it's late in the season. They felt like they had the 3 seed locked in really heavy. So maybe they took a more lackadaisical approach on defense. I don't think And there is blame to be put on a lot of people for that, even up to the coach. But I don't think that dictates how their postseason will go. Do I think they'll make it out of the round 1? Absolutely. If they play Toronto in round 2, it's going to be difficult. But I do think there's an opportunity to advance to the finals, Eastern Conference Finals, and to the finals. I really think there is. Now, Joel Embiid is an interesting player because he's hardly been playing for a decade, right? And I think that's a lot of the times why he gets some of these load management games. But I'm not as pessimistic as you are when he's in these games.
That's the difference.
A series that goes to 7 is extremely difficult no matter who the team is, because you're playing the same team over and over again. You have to try to change things up, which I do think Brett Brown will do. Like, even now we see a new lineup with Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler that we haven't seen before. But I don't think that Joel Embiid is just going to fall off. What I would be more concerned about is some of the bench play, and obviously pick and roll defense. And just cut me off. But that's not. Yeah, no.
I'm just.
No, so they're doing that now.
No.
I'm just telling you guys to cut me off.
No. I'll say this. I think that you two present a good distance of belief.
Optimism and pessimism.
And I don't want to call Brian a pessimist. I think Brian, in Brian's mind, is based in realism.
Okay.
So Brian believes he's based in realism. But I'll say this: like, you two lay it out, and I think Jeff is probably more in the middle.
Well, I would just say
you take us
very
home.
quickly that I think 1 through 5, the Sixers have the most talented team of all the top 4 seeds. 6 through 8, 9, bench, least. And that's probably what might do them in.
Yeah, and what also doesn't help.
No, I was supposed to end it. No,
I just have to add this in there. What doesn't help is that sometimes JJ Redick and Tobias Harris are not hot on the same night.
Right.
That doesn't help. If one of them is not hot one night shooting, especially from deep, we can make that work. If one of them isn't hot, if both of them are not hot together, that's when we lose a lot of these games, because defensively, both of them, they're not studs on defense.
All right, real quick: NBA Finals or Eastern Conference Finals? What do they do?
You really gonna put me on the spot like this?
We just asked you to remove one of the 3 biggest names in the city. This is cupcake.
Well, since I cover the Sixers, I have to ride all the way.
Okay, NBA Finals. They win it all for Crystal Ridge. Jeff Mosher.
I can't take the other option where they lose
No,
in
you
the
three.
semifinals?
You three are somewhere like this. This is a good example. So I'm going to use you 3 here, and
right.
we'll abstain.
I do think they will lose in the semis to a Toronto or
Okay.
Milwaukee.
Brian?
Yeah, I think they lose in the semis to either one of those teams too.
Okay, there we go.
I have to say the unfortunate thing is if they could get the 2 seed in the home court advantage,
That's a
big
little
difference.
different. That's
I'm
a
thinking
little
they're not.
I'm more
Crystal.
I'm more concerned with Toronto than the Bucks.
Me too.
I'm more concerned if right now it looks like we're more likely to play Toronto.
Right.
But I still say we make it out. If we play the Bucks, though, I'm more confident.
Okay.
Because
Crystal?
Brett Brown made adjustments. He had Joel Embiid covering Giannis. Done.
On that note, listen, thank everybody. Really, we thank you all for being a part of this and coming out and spending some time with us. So hopefully it was worth it, and we'll be back again. So for Crystal Rich, Roxy Romeo, Jeff Mosher, I'm Eitan Shander. It is For the Record with Mr. Hat himself. That's right. Brian Westbrook. Thank you all. We'll be back next week.
1, 2.